Hello, everyone. Welcome to Marketing Mischief and Mayhem. My name is Russell Quinn, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Theory SF in San Francisco. We're a brand and performance marketing agency for technology companies, and we've been having great conversations with CMOs of various tech brands, our clients and our friends in the industry, to learn what's really happening right now in the trenches of B2B tech marketing. Today, I'm very excited to have our guest, Dan Lowden. He has spent his career doing the marketing equivalent of defusing bombs, but with style. Dan Lowden is the CMO at Blackbird AI, where he helps enterprises spot and stop narrative attacks before they torch reputations and revenue. Before that, he turned bots and fraud into boardroom must-solve problems at Human, scaled digital risk stories at Digital Shadows, and plot twist, once ran a 400-seat restaurant. That's unbelievable, Dan. He's proof you can be both chef and shield. Craft the perfect story and keep it from getting cooked by bad actors. Dan, welcome to the chaos.
Hey, thanks, Russell. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to today.
I'm looking forward to it as well. So let's jump right in as we always do, Dan. So narrative attacks, I guess briefly defined as when there's misinformation being put out on a company or an individual. When a narrative attack hits, what's the first metric you open to translate whatever social media storm might be happening into whatever the real financial risk would be that a CFO would want to know?
Yeah. This is something that's impacting pretty much every organization today. And narrative attacks is kind of a new term, but it's created by misinformation, disinformation, deepfakes. It's to manipulate information to cause economic harm, financial harm, reputational harm, operational harm, and even physical harm. And it's all being done across social media and everything digital. And it's now being used as a weapon by threat actors, by harmful influencers, by nation states to disrupt whether it's national security or global companies or their executives teams, right? So the key metrics, it's trust, right? If you target a company's trust and it impacts how their customers feel about that company, the financial impact and everything that comes along with that can be massive. We've seen some companies, the price of their stock goes down 25, even greater percent in one day. And it can all start with a single post on social media and blow up very quickly and, blindside them. And they're not able to understand what's truly going on and may make wrong decisions about how to react. Mm-hmm. But that's the big problem that every company in the world today is facing.
Is there any way you can quantify that, though, for a CFO who wants to know what's the potential impact?
Yeah, it goes back to, like, if it's a publicly traded company, it could be 25% of their valuation of the company, which could be billions and billions of dollars, right? And it's something you may not see coming. It may be something true or not true at all that's been manipulated. And they just don't have visibility into what's being said, what are the narratives, who's behind it. Why are they doing something like this? Is it because they, don't believe in their product or want to do financial harm or create financial gain by manipulating stock? So those are the things that they're lacking today, and that's why this is called a new threat vector. The World Economic Forum has called it the #1 global risk for the past 2 years in a row. So something that wasn't really on the radar of a lot of crisis communications or narrative intelligence teams, or now cybersecurity teams and cybersecurity leaders. It was like, hey, this is interesting, but it's not us. Now they realize it is us. The cybersecurity and the CISO teams, the threat intelligence teams, the security operation centers realize it's them because this is an attack on the company. Right. And they need to be more prepared about it.
So I could essentially short a stock, right? And then go out and have multi-coordinated bots disseminating information, and that's what you can actually fight against with Blackbird.
Yeah, it could also be like a deepfake video of the CEO, and it comes out an hour before they do earnings announcements, and it says something about, hey, they missed the quarter, right? And then the tank stocks, the stock tanks. So, these are things that we pick up. What's important to us is what's the narrative. If it's just a deep fake on its own and no one sees it, it doesn't matter. But if it turns into a harmful narrative that all of a sudden goes from one post to a million views to 10 million shares, very quickly that becomes a big crisis moment for the company.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, we face all kinds of new threats these days, don't we? So let's talk about the boardroom fire drill. Walk us through the first 24 hours of your best crisis containment, kind of what you measured, who you briefed, and the one decision you'd make faster next time.
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. We actually did a full webinar on this around crisis in 24 hours, around things like this. And the most important thing is trying to get as much early notice that something is bubbling up that could be impactful to the executive or to the company. If you can get advance notice that, hey, this narrative is gaining momentum, it's starting to go across multiple networks, it's being shared. We see like Russian and North Korea and Chinese nation state actors amplifying it. We see bot manipulation. We see people getting, I would say, angered around something happen. That's when like our system and our narrative intelligence platform would say this is a very high risk narrative that you need to pay attention to now.
Hmm.
And when we get ahead of that, which we do when we're working with a lot of these big brands and global organizations, we get ahead of that. That's when they can take action because they have real data about what's truly happening. So
Hmm.
they may decide to not take action, or they may decide to have a counter narrative. They may change their security posture. They may decide to have their executive not go to a specific event, right? So one of the biggest things that we've done, we've had several instances where a narrative attack had turned into some type of physical demonstration or physical safety issue.
Hmm.
And we've been told that we've helped protect people that could have been in a very, very bad situation. So if we can get ahead of that and share that with these organizations, they can significantly reduce risk. And that's like the perfect scenario, right?
Okay. Okay.
But a lot of times these happen really, really fast. And, we always are trying to improve that signal. There's just so much noise out there. AI, our AI enabled platform, keeps getting better and better at being able to identify these risks earlier and earlier. And that's how I think, our company is helping a lot of organizations out there reduce their risk significantly.
Okay. So detection versus persuasion. Blackbird flags harmful narratives. How do you decide when to fight, when to reframe, and when to starve it of oxygen?
Yeah, great question, because that's the number one question that everybody asks is what do you do once you see this crisis thing happening?
Hmm.
So we've had one major company was about ready to act and make major changes to their strategy, but what we showed them that the majority of the narratives and how it was being scaled out there was bot driven. It wasn't even by humans. So they completely changed. They were going to take these very drastic steps, and they decided not to.
Hmm.
And that was a massive success story for them because it avoided a lot of risk, financial impact, and they just let it go. So they starved that because that narrative died very quickly because nobody responded to it. If they had responded to it, that narrative would have blown up all over again. There are some times that you do want to respond, say it's around a product issue or safety issue that the company believes is not true, right? It's somebody stating claims about a product defect or something like that. And the company may want to be proactive and come back with a counter narrative and say, look, here's all the data we have.
Hmm.
Here's all the things that the benefits of this product does. We don't see any of these product issues out in market. and they address that issue, and the risk goes away because they show proof. Or if the product does have a defect, they can come out with a counter narrative to say, this is the steps that we are taking to go fix it, right? And that reduces the risk. If they just stayed quiet, that narrative would keep building momentum and more people would get behind it, and the more harmful it would become, right? So it's up to the customer to decide, but we have playbooks to say, if it's this, you can respond this way. If it's that, you can respond this way. And it's more up to the customer of what they want to go do, to have the best response possible that reduces the risk to the company and their executive.
Right. So it's interesting. This is really a new kind of issue that businesses are facing. So since narrative intelligence is still maturing, what kind of language finally made enterprise buyers say, oh, wow, I get that I need this now? So, and I guess the bigger part of that question is, we do a lot of work in cybersecurity, and for eons, the classic go-to strategy of cybersecurity firms is be scared, right? Ransomware is coming, you're going to lose everything. It's always fear, fear, fear. How are you approaching educating the marketplace and promoting your brand, given that this is so new? Is it it's coming, you better be prepared, or are you taking a different approach with Blackbird?
It's a great question. And, that it's been my philosophy in marketing to always educate people on, this is a new threat vector. These are examples of what we see happening. We share detailed data, including analysis and network graphs and examples of these attacks and how it's impacting companies, right? So it's an education about, this is something you need to be prepared for. Social listening doesn't cover this. Threat intelligence doesn't cover this. You have a blind spot. But here's what to look out for. Here's what you should consider. And 2 years ago, people were like, this is interesting, right? I get it. But it's not a priority. But what has happened since then is it's pretty much everything you see in the news today, which is really brutal, is that any type of narrative can impact a company in a significant way. And it's impacting executives. So what really is kind of turned on the light very quickly with boardrooms, with executive teams, is to say, look, there have been attempts on people's lives. There have been murders, right, in New York City around executives in healthcare and in investments, financial investments and things like that, from somebody learning about something online and turning it into a physical response, which is very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
So very quickly, this became to, hey, this is interesting, to this is a very serious threat to the organization. We need to discover what's out there. And that's why all of our educational information we put out and built over the past 2 years has been very helpful to a lot of organizations, because it gives them a strategy to address this. And whether it's with us or through other tools, it's our goal was to educate them on the problem, and we always say, we're here to help you when you need our help.
Right.
And
but that could be too late, though, right?
Could be, right? But if it happens to their competitor, right, they're being asked to come to us now and saying, we want to get ahead of this as much as we can. If it happens to them, we're in crisis mode with them very, very quickly, and we try to help them out as much as we can.
But do you have to have, for instance, does Blackbird need to be working with a client before the crisis hits so that everything is in place for a reaction? Or if a crisis hits, can a client call you and say, hey, I'm in crisis, this is going on, can you guys get started now?
It's both. It's both. I mean, obviously, we prefer to get ahead of it and help them try to minimize the risk. But yeah, we've been called, by CEOs of organizations to say, this has just come out. We don't know how to address this. We need your help right away. And our team dives into it, right? So we're using our AI tools to discover things quickly. We also have what we call a Raven narrative intelligence team that does deep investigations. So we do both, right? But we prefer to get in before these things happen, so that way we can minimize the impact to the organization.
Gotcha. So awards are nice, right? Pipeline is nicer. What's your most unfair proof point that flips skeptical execs in one slide?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest thing, and it always comes down to we can say whatever we want, right? And that's our view. I try to be very honest in our marketing, not, the scare tactics. But like
Mm-hmm.
to me, there's no better way than to tell people what we do is valuable to them is through our customers.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's hard in cybersecurity because a lot of people don't want to say I can't be quoted, but I'll give you a quote. But don't put my name next to it. So we do that quite a lot. But I was in one very large organization, global organization, that they said this quote to us. They said, before we started working with Blackbird, we felt hopeless about this situation because they were trying to do this manually. They were trying to look at social listening tools and threat intelligence tools. They were trying to understand what was happening. It was moving too fast. But when our platform enables that through AI to have instantaneous information about what's truly happening,
Mm-hmm.
it completely changed the way they orchestrated their entire teams to be able to look for these things in advance so they could respond to them well. So when I heard we felt hopeless, not
Mm-hmm.
helpless,
Yeah.
hopeless, like that's really powerful. And then, under confidentiality, we share that with other prospects and customers, and we say, here's who said it, because we have their approval to say that under, confidentiality. It gives us incredible credibility
Mm-hmm.
in the marketplace. So to me, a customer saying good things about you, there's nothing better because you have to prove value to them all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just brings a question to my mind, Dan. In traditional cybersecurity, you'd want to have, and we've been trained over so many years, you have to have the antivirus ahead of time on your computer because when the crisis hits, you're going to lose all your family mementos, you're going to lose all your money, it's all gone, like it's gone. In this particular case, for narrative attacks, the damage is kind of in the future, right? And I'm just wondering how that works from you from an acquisition perspective. If a client doesn't necessarily need to already be on board with you because they're watching every dollar and don't believe they need it. So are your marketing efforts around building brand awareness so when the crisis hits, they know where to go? Or is it around sign up now, protect yourself now before the crisis hits? Because just what I've seen in cybersecurity, until somebody around you has the crisis, you never really think about it, right? It's kind of sits on the back burner. Yeah, I know I should do it. I should also floss, right? I'm just wondering, like, where is your marketing from that standpoint going? Are we going for client acquisition and trying to get as many folks obviously into the system as possible that we're protecting proactively ahead of time? Or are we just trying to grow our brand name so that they know instantly where to go when the crisis hits? Because I'm just thinking that human nature is, I'll wait until I have a problem.
Yeah. There definitely are some companies that say, hey, I'm going to wait till we have a problem. I have other priorities. And hey, I get that. I've
Mm-hmm.
been in cybersecurity now, 12 plus years. But I think very quickly this has become a top three or top one priority when really bad things happen. As I mentioned, these instances that have happened in New York City, these tragedies around, executives being targeted, or a brand being targeted and canceled or boycotted, right? All of a sudden, it's impacting the bottom line very, very quickly. Or a breach happens or a fake breach is announced, right? All of a sudden, the impact to the stock is significant. So it's gotten a lot easier to talk to people to say, get this in before the crisis happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's what we focus our marketing on. But we always say, we're here for you if you're not ready, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a combined approach. I've been, this is my 12th startup. My view is go build tremendously valuable content. So at every type of engagement, from sales to marketing to executive, we have something to give someone of value, and they really appreciate that. We built that relationship of trust. It's all about trust and relationships, and being able to count on these companies when bad things happen. And that's why branding is really important. That's why getting known by the analysts, by reporters as the leader in the industry, because when things do happen or they have questions and they ask who should I work with, I always want them to point to Blackbird, because we've laid that foundation and that framework for them.
Right. Okay. So now let's talk about human and machine teams, right? Where does the AI tech stack call the play? And where must a human run the ball, especially when ethics or geopolitics are in the mix?
Yeah, fantastic question, right? So there's just massive amounts of data out there, right? There's so much noise. That's what we hear from, I was just in a customer meeting yesterday. There's just so much noise out there. They don't know what to focus on. They don't know what to prioritize. They don't know which ones have higher risk. And that's what it's all about. Like, those teams are struggling to figure out, okay, what should I put my team's efforts against to reduce risk? And that's where the AI comes in. Our narrative intelligence platform is AI based. It pulls data from all these sources and it pulls it together in a way that is understandable and says, hey, this is mentioning your company or your executives. Here's 10 to 20 different things that are being said about your organization. We have Signal that pulls that into what we call our Constellation platform. So if there's a technical user wanting to dig in deep to understand everything about it, they can go as deep as they want. Mm-hmm. But that's wonderful. That's one part of it, and that's one use case. But the other part of it is, how do you make it then understandable that you can share that with the executive team or the board? So again, the AI takes all that data and gives you what we call a narrative feed that very simply says, here's the top 20 narratives that are targeting your organization today. Here's a summary paragraph of what it's about. Here's, based off of all these signals, how high of a priority it should be based off of these risks. And then you decide which ones you're going to focus on. And that's where the magic happens, right? The AI really helps you make strategic decisions because you have real data. And that's where the human comes in and says, okay, I now have context around what I should be focused on. I'm going to have my team focus on in these areas so we can make better strategic decisions. Like, the AI is not making those strategic decisions. The AI is providing the very clear context of what's happening, mm-hmm, so that the human can make better strategic decisions.
Right. Makes
That's
sense.
the beauty of it.
So how are you feeding intel back into brand positioning, messaging, and creative so it's not just defense, it's offense?
Yeah. So, and that's where, like, we work with our narrative intelligence team. They're all like really, really great folks with unbelievable backgrounds in threat intelligence and in national security, and just really, really amazing people. So a lot of times they'll be pulled in to present findings to customers. They'll create reports for those customers. And then we work with that team to take that content and take whatever important information we shouldn't include in it out of it, and then we publish it, right? So it's a constant set of feedback loop about, hey, here are the latest narrative threats we're seeing. We share it with a customer, we anonymize it, and then we publish it to go educate the market about it more and more, right? So that's where we're providing, it's not just, marketing talk, which nobody appreciates. Mm-hmm. It's deep analysis of our findings and our discoveries. So people go, wow, I had no idea that this was actually happening. And I need to have my team better prepared to be able to, protect against it. So that constant feedback loop from product to threat intel to marketing to sales helps us be more valuable to our customers. Mm-hmm. And I think, to me, that is a big advantage we have out there in the marketplace.
Gotcha. So in a world of hot takes, what's your minimum viable truth bar before responding publicly?
Yeah, so like, that's a really important thing. So we're looking at narratives. We don't necessarily say if this is true or false or fake or not. We will say this has been manipulated, or these are the top narratives that are being pushed out there, and here's the groups behind it. But we actually built this product called Compass that you can put in any URL, any video, any news article, social media link, and it's like, I'll give you an example. There was one post that said the Eiffel Tower is on fire, and it was shared over millions of times, and people believed it. There was a photograph of it, and it looked real. So if you put that question or that link in Compass, it's our Risk LLM. You put that in there, and it immediately gives you a response with context based off of thousands of reliable sources, and says, no, the Eiffel Tower is not on fire. And here's all of the sources behind saying it's not, right? And that's critically important because people are hearing things every day. I don't know whether to believe this or not, right?
Yeah.
So Compass Context is a product that a lot of our customers use to be able to very quickly understand, hey, is something really happening or not? And that's powerful.
Life used to be so much easier before the internet.
Yes, yes.
Is the Eiffel Tower on fire?
Right. A simple question like that. But it could be something around, hey, there was a plane crash, or there's a bank run, right? Or there was a breach, when in fact nothing's happened. So we go to those reliable sources, and thousands of them, and compile them using AI, and we say, here's what we believe is truly happening. And it gives people like a lot of the ability to make, again, better strategic decisions.
Yep. Okay, this is one of my favorite questions, Dan, because it's immediately popped up into my mind as I was looking at your background. From chef to CMO, this is very unusual. What did the kitchen teach you about service design, tempo, and composure that most CMOs will never learn?
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny. And, to me, it's all about delivering value at the right time, the right place, the right price. And that's really important, delivering a meal to your table or delivering a product that can help them do their jobs better, right? So it's that simple in my mind. And if it falls short, if that meal is not good, they're going to remember that, and they're never going to come back, and they're going to tell all their friends. Not a good scenario. If that meal is amazing, they're going to go tell all their friends, and they're all going to line up and come to the restaurant the next day, the next week, right? That's how things go viral, in both a good way and a negative way. It's the same thing in cybersecurity and in marketing today. Like, there's 6,000 cybersecurity companies out there. There's a lot of overstated promises. There's a lot of messages that all look the same, when in fact, the CISOs recognize it so much today that they don't trust marketing, and they don't trust sales. And I totally get it. So that's where my view is: I join brands, I join companies that have a product that works, that provides value, that I can tell a good story, that I'm passionate about the mission. And we're honest in saying, here's where we are on the journey. This is new tech. This is a new problem. We're in the best position to help you today, and we're going to be even a better position to help you in the future. And we're going to be your partner. I've turned customers into friends that from 30 years ago, they're still friends. And that, to me, is what it's all about: building that trust in those relationships. That's how I learned that from the kitchen.
Yeah. I had a friend who's a famous restaurateur in San Francisco years ago, and he sweated every detail all the way down to, the final cup of coffee after dinner had to be flawless, and it had to be perfect, because that's what you'd remember, right? Everything matters. And I think everything matters in marketing too. It really does.
It really does, right? And, there's so many people involved in restaurants, right? That's a big part of this. So I always worked hard to try to build great teams and help them make a lot of money, because they did a great job serving the customer well. So you could have the best product in the world, but if it's not served by, waiter, waitress staff that, is respectful and does a great job and is warm, that also can impact the experience. So
Sure.
that's how I've managed teams, is build great teams and be respectful of them, and help them, create a great experience for our customers.
Okay. Now I have to ask you, as a chef, you're at your house. You're about to have a dinner party with all your friends coming over. What's your go-to dish?
Well, let me just say,
never disappoints. What is it?
well, let me just say this. That was a long time ago that I was a chef,
Oh,
right?
but
That
you
was
haven't forgot how to cook.
in my 20s, right? That was a long time ago. And it was wonderful. And I'll just say, again, I put this on my LinkedIn. I started at that restaurant as a dishwasher. Okay. And I was taught by some great people about how to become a chef. And I would never say I was a top chef in any way, shape, or form, but I think I did a great job with all the great people that taught me how to do it.
What's
But
your
to
dish?
me,
What do you
like,
cook? What are you cooking? What are you
it's
going to make for your friends?
mostly seafood is what I cook, right? So
Okay.
scallops, lobster, crab, Alaskan king crab. Those are things that I love the most.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I order when I go out. But to me, that's still to me the best that you could have.
Okay, I'm hinting that I want to invite Dan. That's all I'm saying. Okay, well, now is my mom's favorite part of the show, when we do the lightning round and we get to ask Dan 10 questions, and he gives us the first take on it. The lightning.
All right, let's
Hi,
do
Mom.
it.
All right. I read.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
Yeah. I read you a ridiculous DM. Real human or sophisticated bot?
I think it could be real human.
Okay. Choose your fighter. The Gartner Magic Quadrant or a Forrester Wave?
Wow, you can't get me in this much trouble. I'll just say, depending on the company, depending on the analyst, both have served me really, really well over the years. I have great relationships with both.
You
And
got to
they
commit
have,
though. Don't, you can't play both sides, Dan.
but I'll just say that both have helped lead to acquisitions of companies that I've worked for, because we were positioned well there, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, to me, they're both still really valuable. I would say anybody else is definitely a tier below it, but those two are still really important in the industry.
You didn't pick.
I can't.
Are you unwilling? Are you unwilling to commit?
I think they're both really valuable.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Crisis snack. Spicy chips, gummy bears, or straight espresso shots?
A lot of coffee, so espresso shots, but also almonds, because I, try to keep it healthy too.
Okay, fair enough. Marketing word you'd ban for a year. AI powered, platform, or orchestration?
Orchestration can mean so many different things. To me, that shouldn't be a word that's used. But
Okay.
every cybersecurity company is saying AI now.
Mhm.
They need to be truly AI to be able to say it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, headline you wish would trend about your team. Exact wording, 6 words maximum.
I'll use one: badass.
Love it. Is that 2 words?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I use it as one, but like, we're a small team. I've always had great teams, and you have to stand out in this, especially cybersecurity. Like I said, 5,000-6,000 companies.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stand above. You have to be unique. You have to look unique. You have to sound unique. So it's badass. That's the best word.
Okay, you get one superpower in a narrative war. Time travel, Wonder Woman's truth lasso, or the mute button.
I think time travel would be wonderful, because, if you can go backwards, you could maybe change something that really happened that was a really terrible thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Favorite metaphor for brand safety? Seatbelt, firewall, or bulletproof vest?
I'm going to say seatbelt on that one. You could put some protections in place, but then you can also take it off when you're ready.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. All right. Make it go viral. Response in 5 words or fewer.
Make it go viral. I mean, I'll just say finding a cyber criminal and calling them out in a report that puts them in prison.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Secret sauce from your chef days you still use in marketing meetings.
Show up on time, ready to play.
Okay. Okay, you must rename crisis communications to something more honest. What's the new label?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna just say with narrative intelligence, right? Like, if it's the big gap that everybody has, and if you have that, you're going to understand what's being said about you.
Right. Well, Dan, that is my list of questions. And I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and thoughts with us here at Marketing Mischief and Mayhem. I hope you've had a good time. I know our audience will enjoy hearing your answers. And thank you for coming out and playing.
Russell, thanks a lot. It's a great pleasure. I enjoyed the questions. I hope your mom is happy with my responses to your questions, but these are fun, and I think it's important to talk about this topic and about what's happening in the world today and how you can protect yourself. So I'm thrilled to be here, and thanks for letting me participate and join you today.
Excellent. Thank you, Dan.